Hi, my name is David. I'm a freelance illustrator, and I wanted to make this video because as you see at the title is called Being a Successful Artist Isn't Practical. And the reason why I came up with that topic is because it's something that I've been wanting to talk about and address mostly for myself, but maybe me talking about a topic like this could help, shed the light on this type of subject for other people. And the main reason why I say being a successful artist is impractical because it means having to step outside of your comfort zone of just being an artist to even fathom the idea of being successful. And what I mean about that is being just an artist and being whether you're really good or really bad doesn't mean you're going to be a successful artist. And what I mean about being a successful artist in general is someone who's trying to earn a living as an artist, whether that's you doing art for somebody or you trying to sell your art, whether it being the art itself or it being on a product, whether it's stickers, prints, or a book, such as like a comic book. Because while art can attract people and get them interested in the thing, but art alone, unless it's really good, I mean, there's likelihood that people may buy it, but and if it moves them, if there's like it has something like it already triggers something emotional in them, then they might buy into it. But most of the time, art sells when people know the artist or the creator. Like, oh, this is a speaking of as like a uh, of like comic books. Oh, this is a Jim Lee drawing of Batman. People know Jim Lee because he's a popular comic book artist and he's known for drawing Batman. So people are going to buy a Batman drawn by Jim Lee. But now if it was a Batman drawn by somebody who they don't know, if it's really good, maybe they buy it. But if they don't know the name, it's less likely they're going to buy it or hire that person to do work for them. And that's the main driver behind this topic is being a successful artist isn't practical because it takes other steps outside of being an artist to be successful. And I myself is nowhere near uh, that myself, but I would love to someday. But after spending some time working on my own stuff, uh, I realized how much a person has to do to even get your own original stuff seen by other people. And it's about talking about or doing things that other people are already interested in. Like, for example, uh, so I make my own comic books, like right here, you see, and the way I was able to figure out a way of selling it to people is by, especially in persons where I've learned this, is by talking about something that somebody is already interested in. So like for recently, I sold a few copies of my comic in person at a local toy store where I sell copies of my comic, both issue 1 and issue 2 of this book. And the way I was able to sell it was by like building a conversation based off of somebody's interest by noticing that they like Pokemon. So I started a conversation about talking about Pokemon, also being a fan myself of Pokemon, and we were able to talk about certain things we like what our favorite Pokemon. And then I was able to weave that conversation in a way to talk about me as a fan of my opinions about Pokemon, especially like the games, because I've always since 2017 I've had this idea, and I'll go ahead and share with you that I was sharing with this person that since 2017 I had this idea of like I'm sure it's not occurred to anybody about this idea is like what if they made a open world Pokemon game, but not just like the last gen that just came out, Gen 9, which was Scarlet and Violet. If you know about Pokemon, that was like the last uh, generation of Pokemon where they brought out new Pokemon, new games, and everything, and it was open world. But the idea that I've had is like, what if it was like very similar in a way to a game that I've played before that's on PlayStation, Xbox called Ark Survival Evolved, which is a surviving game, but it's open world, and you gotta survive using dinosaurs and such. Well, ever since playing that game, I was like, what if there was a Pokemon game like this where you just trying to survive being a Pokemon trainer, and you got the whole world is full of Pokemon, but the other driving factor behind that is like, what if you were able, because in each game centers on a different generation of Pokemon, which also center around a different region where you have all these Pokemon, you and that's where you can start out. And but what I'm thinking about in what if there was an open world Pokemon game where based off the different generations and the different regions, what if you were to start off on one of those regions and follow your Pokemon journey as a Pokemon trainer from one region, going through the whole like Ash Ketchum Pokemon journey, like in the cartoon where he starts off and from Pallet Town in the uh, the I damn it, I can't. Well, anyways, where the region that he started off, where he went through, got 8 badges from defeating like 8 Pokemon gyms, went to the Pokemon League and beat and won the Pokemon Championship at the Pokemon League for his region. And then in the Johto series, he went on and did the same thing, fought all these at these gyms. One went to the Johto League, and then from there, because that Johto is its own region, which is for Gen 2. Yeah, Gen 2. Which for the games, which was Pokemon Gold, I think it was Gold and Silver, and then from there you go from that region to another region. So I'm thinking like, what if there was a game where you could do that yourself, like basically create your own character, be a Pokemon trainer, and start off at a certain region and be able to go around the world to these other regions, and you can pick and choose what region you start off in and what other region you want to go to. And maybe this Pokemon game could be called Pokemon Master. Maybe you go on your own journey becoming a Pokemon Master type of thing. And maybe this could be an online based game, and you can meet other people online and trade and stuff as if you were living in the Pokemon world yourself. Well, anyway, so talking about all that with this person, led to talking about like what if hopefully one day I could share that with the Pokemon brand itself and they can make a game like that. But and then I mentioned before I can make that happen, I have to kind of practice building something similar myself, which is building my own universe, and I'm sort of doing that with my uh, Twister, with my story here, building my own universe from the ground up with characters, and hopefully this takes off one day or another idea, and I can get big enough to be able to maybe be able to share that idea for a Pokemon game with the Pokemon Grand, or at least do the best I can to get close enough, you know. And but that led me into talking about my comic based off of just talking about something of interest and being a fan and having opinions of that myself that I would like to see changes in, but knowing that I can't in my situation because who am I? I am nobody of popularity at the moment, or if I ever will be. And but I can at least take that energy and pour into my own story, and then I'm able to talk about that with people. And because of that, the person was like really excited about the idea of the story I'm trying to build and tell and share with people. And after after seeing that, that's what made me realize that okay, it's not just about the art, the story, the comic. It's about finding what people are already interested in and being able to share with them something that you're making that is of similar interest. Now, my comic is not, one to one with Pokemon, but there's an aspect that I was talking about that is in this comic that I eventually want to build up to, and that's having these things that people I would like for people to be able to collect as physical things, uh, just like people who collect Pokemon cards. So that's the whole like uh, driver that I'm eventually trying to get to. But first, I'm trying to tell this story, sharing with people, get enough people interested in the story. That way, when they learn about these objects that are in the story, it would make them want to have a physical replica of that. And that's what I'm trying to build towards. But first, it's one thing of another, and that's based off that. That's how something can become successful, and then it can become practical. But it also takes time. Like I'm only on issue 2 of my own comic because it takes a lot just to, just to put together a story and then illustrate it, get it printed, put it out there. It takes a lot, and so it takes time to build that interest. But that doesn't mean it's not impossible. It just means maybe for now, it's taking a step back and doing what you can do as a living while building this thing along the way. And so that's what I'm at least working on. I mean, even though I'll be even more open, about a month or so ago, I had walked away from my previous part-time job, and I realized now maybe I should have made that move, but it was because it was an emotional move, and it was because I could no longer tolerate the the work that I was doing. I know that sounds like that probably sounds like, oh, you should just keep doing it because it's bringing income while working on my passion projects, and then maybe one day, you know, I'll reach that point where I can replace that income with doing this. But I could only tolerate the type of work that I was doing for so long. And I think a more practical solution is finding something that I can practically do that I can tolerate for, because I already know it's going to take at least 10 to 20 years to really build this story into a universe of characters and other stories that branch off there. I already know that will take time, so I'll have to find something that I can tolerate for a longer periods of time. Uh, Something that also won't drain my energy, but give me energy to work on something like this. And I'm already working on plans for that. But I just wanted to share a little bit of that just to shed light on how realistic you have to kind of start thinking as an artist if you want to become successful in any path that you're on, becoming a successful artist in the means of uh, making this as a living. Like I said, whether at the beginning, like I said at the beginning, whether you are a service base where you're trying to work for other people, do work with other people as a partnership, freelancing, or if you're trying to sell stuff yourself, but building representation off of. And it doesn't matter how you market it either. You can use social media marketing or in person, which is traditional media. Uh, it's just knowing what path you want, which one of those you want to do, and knowing that it's going to take just a little bit more than just being an artist, doing the art itself, to at least get from point A to point B, because you gotta get other people interested in what you're doing by also being interested in what you're doing. And if you are constantly also doubting yourself out of it, that also bleeds off onto other people, and they feel that, and that also makes people also not interested. So, like, overall, as an artist at the base level, you should already enjoy what you're making. That is the main important thing. And then to take it from there to even make a living from that is knowing that making art is not the only thing that you will be doing. It's being able to understand that art is now part of being a business minded person, to try and be able to sell what it is that you are doing. Uh, and I know just the one thing I shared is just one way of doing it. Like, find something that somebody's interested in, talk about that, and then find ways to weave that into what you're doing. And there's probably a lot of other ways to sell something to people, and that's by bringing value to people of what's already what what is that they're need help with. Because the other thing about being a artist and also running it as your own, being a business minded person, is being a problem solver, because that's what a business person and an artist are. An artist is being able to take one thing and making it better, making it cooler. And a business minded person is somebody who is finding a problem and their business being a solution for that problem. And if you were able to bridge the gap between the artist and the business person, the artist being able to take one thing, make it cooler, and also being a problem solver, being a solver for someone's problem. You can, I think that's where you'll find the sweet spot is first finding the thing that you enjoy in arts and becoming a practitioner in that, and then finding ways where you can solve problems with that. And I think that's where you'll find the success that you're looking for as an artist. Uh, and that goes for, I think that goes for both being a service based business and a product, because maybe your product is could be the thing that solves a problem. Like I made a story to help people. Uh, or I made this product to solve something that someone else needs, or a service like I make art, so I may need find somebody who needs an artist as a freelancer. Maybe there's this person who's making a video game, but they don't have no way of making visuals to market it, and so they may need to hire somebody to make production art, like things that they can promote without being able to. I mean, obviously, games use like trailers and stuff and animations to sell, but there's also posters and images like the ones behind me that can also get people interested, stuff like that. But overall, I guess, like I said at the beginning, being a successful artist isn't practical, and that's because you have to learn to find other ways outside of being artists to make it successful. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending you probably be spending most of your time trying to sell your work rather than actually doing the work. And that's why it's probably also important to narrow down the type of art you do around the things that you're most interested in and that you're good at doing. Because the other thing being an artist is we have all these different ideas that we want to do. Like for me, I want to make this comic. I have this other character I want to do a story. I have this character, that character, all these different characters I want to do stories. And then also I'm a fan of stuff. Sometimes I like to draw fan art, and I have a dozen ideas that I want to do fan art of. Um, I'm also a toy collector. There's times where I want to spend more time collecting figures and sharing that online as well. And there's also being a fan of video games. I haven't played video games in forever. I want to get back to playing video games. There's all these facets of things that we as creative people want to do and fill our time with, but the problem is that we don't have so much time and energy of today, and it's really narrowing down to at least three things that you can do well and will enjoy making. Um, that also won't take time away, take energy that you could spend, that if you only spent 40% of your time and energy on that, it will still feel fulfilling that way when you're trying to do the other 60% of a business, like the selling, the marketing and stuff. It also doesn't drain you because you're excited about what it is that you're making to pour into the other 60 or 70% that is to market. Because as long as you have a good Because if you have a good product and good marketing, you'll do well. But if you have terrible marketing, but you have a good product, it's all give and take. But you can find a good like 60-40 or 70-30, I think, because nothing is always going to be like 100% or 50-50. It's always going to teeter. But I think finding that sweet spot of like of marketing that works for your business, your branding, all that, and the business side. Because once you can find a good way of that works, and then be able to find the thing that you can spend 40% on, and find that happy medium between the two, I think that's where being a successful artist could become more practical. And that goes for any type of business. As artists, we are making our own products, but usually businesses already have a product where they pay other people to manufacture it, and they have the product, and all they have to do is focus on selling it. Whereas an artist, you're making your product and trying to sell it, so it's kind of like two things you're trying to do, and it could take time before you could earn enough money to pay other people to do the marketing, unless you go back to unless you go back to getting a day job, some type of job outside art to help pay for things. That's always an option too. Um, you don't always have to just try and make all your income off of just art. There could be other facets you could be doing too, that you could take the same energy into account as finding work that you would enjoy doing, that you can pour energy into, that don't drain you, but can also help, you know, with the art. Uh, but I think that's about all I want to talk about in this video. It's already almost 30 minutes, but yeah, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on this topic because I think it's a very interesting topic to talk about. Uh, because it can happen. You can be successful. So it just takes more stuff outside of just being an artist to make it happen. And I think once you're able to figure that part out, I think the sky is the limit from there. Uh, and that's about it. Well, anyways, I appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.